All right, welcome to the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. We have a quorum with myself, Vice Chair Evans, Councilmember Brett T, Councilmember Rutherford, and Councilmember Spain. Like I said, we have a lot to do, and I'm going to jump right on it. We don't have anybody signed up for public comment, is that correct? Okay. So I have all the resolutions on a consent agenda, and so look over them as I read them into the record, and let me know if we need to pull any, please. Item 1 is RS 2025-1593, a resolution approving the election of certain notaries public for Davidson County, sponsored by Cash. RS 2025-1615, a resolution urging the Tennessee General Assembly to support the Tennessee Waste to Jobs Act to promote sustainable economic development and environmental stewardship, sponsored by Ewing. Item 3, RS 2025-1616, a resolution urging the Tennessee General Assembly to enact legislation authorizing county governments to collect impact fees and dedicating a portion of the state real estate transfer tax to local infrastructure, all of which would support affordable housing and senior home repair programs, sponsored by Ellison Gamble. Item 4, RS 2025-1620, a resolution honoring the life of Elmer Denzel Irwin, owner of Nashville's Santa's Pub. RS 2025-1621, a resolution honoring the service of Freddie, an explosive ordnance detection canine officer with the Department of Public Safety of the Nashville International Airport, sponsored by Bradford. Item 6, RS 2025-1622, a resolution recognizing the Jefferson Street Historical Society for its work toward the economic and cultural revitalization of historic Jefferson Street in North Nashville, sponsored by Taylor Styles and others. RS 2025-1623, a resolution recognizing the Nashville Conflict Resolution Center for its 25th anniversary, sponsored by Swara Porterfield and others. Item 8, RS 2025-1624, resolution recognizing November 20th, 2025 as Transgender Day of Remembrance in Nashville and Davidson County, sponsored by Hill. And 9, RS 2025-1625, a resolution recognizing November 15th, 2025 as America Recycles Day in Nashville and Davidson County, sponsored by Allen, Bradford, and others. Having read those into the record, are there any that need to be pulled off?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they pass 5 to 0. All right. Next, we have 3 late filed items. The first is late filed resolution by Toombs and Allen. A resolution to approve the second amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing approved by RS 2022-1857 between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Project Return Incorporated. Do we have we don't have a sponsor. I'm happy to, should we push it to the heel, or I can sign on and. Should we push to the heel? Let me go to the next late filed item. This is a late filed ordinance by Johnston. It is an ordinance amending chapter 17.36 and 17.4 of the Metropolitan Code to create a detached accessory dwelling unit exclusion overlay district. proposal number 2025Z blank TX001. Councilmember Johnston, can you speak to the late filed nature of the?
Yeah, I just wanted it to track on second reading with the bill it's seeking to substitute.
Okay, any questions for the sponsor? Are we ready to vote on the late filed nature? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right,
6.
6. Okay, 6 to 0 to 0. All right. And the last late file substitute is to RS 2025-1601 by Toombs, a resolution appropriating a total of $200,011,866 from the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to United Neighborhoods Health Services Incorporated, DBA Neighborhood Health Incorporated, and approving a grant contract between the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services Incorporated, Neighborhood Health Incorporated, for the provision of outreach services for participants in the Ryan White Part A program. Councilmember Toombs, can you speak to the late filed nature of the substitute?
So the substitute is just making a correction to the caption. It says outreach instead of outpatient services, and that was just brought to my attention that needs to be changed yesterday.
Okay, and it's correct in this caption?
In the substitute.
In the substitute.
Yes, okay. Any questions? Are we ready to vote on, can somebody move the?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? That's 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, are we ready to go back to the other? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Toombs, we're going back to item 10. It's a late filed resolution. I read it in to RS 2022-1857. I did read it into the record. Can you speak to the?
I'm gonna have to defer to Director Darby on that one.
It looks like the amendment needs to be approved according to the letter that we received from the legal department. The amendment needs to be approved prior to the contract's expiration, which occurs before the second reading in November. And this was an administrative oversight. It wasn't submitted prior to the filing deadline.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor of or supportive of the late file nature of the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, 7 to 0 to 0. All right, now we are, we have board and commission appointees and nominees, and we are, I gotta say, next on the agenda, we have 5 nominees for the General Sessions Judge, Division 6, although I did get a request from the mayor's office. There is a nominee, lost it. I'm sorry. Oh, for the,
Stormwater.
say it again.
Stormwater. Janie Camp.
Katie Camp, all right. For the Stormwater Management Commission, is there any objection to and she has a conflict that she needs to leave for. Is there any objection to hearing her or interviewing her at this point?
No.
All right, Ms. Camp?
I assume that's it here.
Yes, you sit there, sorry. The hot seat, but.
Okay.
All right, so this is a reappointment, so you've been serving on the Stormwater Management Commission. If you could, just tell us a little bit about your service and what you hope to accomplish in the future.
Okay, so I am a professional engineer and certified floodplain manager. So one of my goals serving on the commission is to help protect public health, safety, and welfare. So, you know, really adhering to the guidelines, considering not allowing development in the floodplain, and protecting the buffer zones so that we don't have development and continue to have absorption of stormwater so that we reduce flooding across the community and downstream impacts. And localized flooding, we're seeing more of that due to development, impervious areas, and more intense storm events. And this is part of my areas of research. So just trying to help protect public health, safety, and welfare. So.
Thank you. Any
I
other
have a
questions?
question. Yes. How do we continue to mitigate stormwater runoff with all the increased development?
Okay, so we have good, I think, good low-impact development regulations for development. We also have great community organizations like the Cumberland River Compact and others that are helping homeowners and residential development understand putting in rain gardens, planting more trees that help with absorption of the storm events that we're seeing. So it's kind of a multifaceted problem with the development. So the low impact development regulations help limit the amount of impervious area that's being put in, but also capturing some of that precipitation and storing it for release later, or storing and treating it to help improve water quality downstream.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes. Sure.
Are you involved in the master stormwater plan?
I am not.
Okay. Will you be involved in the board, from the board perspective, or how does that work?
We rule on variance requests.
Okay. I didn't
Not
know that they would have to be
necessarily in
involved
the
in something like that.
planning. So, if needed, I'm sure some of us would help. It's not part of our purview.
Any other questions? Thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you.
And you heard what I said about the cards?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
All in favor of, where, I lost my place. Jenny Camp for a term on the Stormwater Management Commission, expiring October 31st, 2029. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 7-0 to 0.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks, John.
All right, so now we're gonna go back to our judicial nominees. There it is. And these are nominees for General Sessions Judge Division 6. And this is consideration of nominees to fill a judicial vacancy in the General Sessions Court with an election to be conducted at the November 18th, 2025 council meeting. And we have 5 nominees, and I know that we have lots of questions, and we do have a limited amount of time, so let's all be cognizant of that, and we want to make sure that we give each nominee a fair amount of time, and not end up later on like having to rush even more. And I know that they've got a lot to tell us. Anyway, let's move forward. The first nominee is C. Michael Robinson.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Thank you.
And we've got the packets with the questionnaire that you all filled out and your resumes. So we've got that on record. And if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and
Yes.
why you would be a good judge.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilmember Cash. My name is Michael Robinson. I'm seeking the appointment to the General Sessions Court because the people of Nashville deserve an experienced judge. For the past 3 years, I've been serving as a night court magistrate, which means that the judges of the General Sessions Court have appointed me to do the essential functions of their job at night. That's given me a unique experience to start this role immediately from day one with the know-how, the judicial know-how in things like determining and balancing the right of the public to be safe and an individual's right to a bond, but also the technical know-how, the know-how of how to sign a search warrant, how many copies to give to an officer, where to record a seizure hearing. These are all technical requirements that whoever y'all appoint is going to have to do hundreds of times within the first few weeks. That's why it's important that when y'all make this consideration, you recognize that you should appoint someone who's ready to serve day one. I've already been trained by the judges of the General Sessions Court. I've already been serving for 3 years as a judicial magistrate. And beyond that, I'm in my 9th year of a general practice of law that touches on every aspect that will be before the court. General Sessions is more than just a criminal court. It's also a civil court. It also does order of protections, landlord-tenant. That's all areas I've practiced in over the last 9 years. That's why I'm asking for y'all's support and y'all's vote.
Thanks. Committee members?
I'll get it started for us. Thank you, well, to all 5 of our candidates today. So I don't have to repeat myself. Thank you for being present here today and for your willingness to put yourself forward. I've got a couple of questions. Starting off, pretty simple. Are you currently compliant with your CLEs?
Thank you, Councilmember Prepty. Absolutely, yes, sir.
Perfect, good. Off to a good start. You'd be surprised. So I'm curious about, so you mentioned being a judicial magistrate currently. What are some of the most pressing issues that you think are facing the court today, and how have you worked to address those within your practice up to this point?
Thank you, Councilmember Prepty. When I serve as a night court commissioner, I'm often disheartened by how many times young people come into night court for no other reason than just not having enough money to get out of the judicial system. I'll have so many FTAs, failure to appears, and I look up, okay, what they failure to appear on? It's not having enough money to reinstate their license. And so they roll through a stop sign, and instead of getting a ticket, they get arrested. And then the taxpayer has to bear the cost of incessantly rearresting these people who would otherwise be out of the judicial system but for being poor. So if appointed or elected as a General Sessions judge, I want to help shrink that gap between the rich and the poor by creating an indigency docket aimed to help worthy individuals. And I'll know the difference between a hardened criminal and someone, just a young man or a young woman who's made one mistake and needs help getting out of the judicial system, to help waive their fines, their fees, help them get their license reinstated, help them get off probation, so that we don't have to bear the cost of incessantly rearresting them, and so that they can be productive members of society. That's why in my practice, I contribute several hours a year to pro bono work. I help people get reinstated for their license, which is a labyrinth, believe it or not, and try to help them just become productive members of society.
If I may, Chair.
Thanks.
I've got a list, if I may.
Okay.
So one of the things that we've seen is an increasing politicization of our judiciary. And I believe that it affects all levels of our judiciary. So beyond just faith in that institution and faith in our democracy, what role do you think judges play in protecting our democracy and protecting that institutional legitimacy?
Yes, sir. It's an important issue, especially in today's climate. And the essential function of a judge is to just apply the law, know the law, sit in quiet contemplation of the facts, and apply it regardless of whoever's in front of you. That's why over the past 3 years as a night court magistrate, to avoid any appearance of impropriety, I've voluntarily wound down my criminal law practice so that anyone who comes before the night court doesn't think that, oh, I'm representing criminal defendants and I'm a magistrate. That's in an effort to show the people of Nashville I'm willing to take a hit so that the judiciary still has that high standard, that anyone before the court can feel like they're getting a fair shake, regardless of what side they're on. And I want to carry that into being a General Sessions judge.
And then 3 more questions. As a General Sessions judge, in your opinion, what is the most vital constitutional protection that must be upheld in your courtroom?
Immediately off the bat, it comes to the Fourth Amendment, right? And that's what, as a night court commissioner, I see over and over again, is the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. I've had hundreds of opportunities to determine, based on individual and novel facts, where that line is drawn. And as a General Sessions judge, I want to let y'all know that I won't be too afraid to step back into the office and use my Westlaw subscription. and figure out, and not just rely on the fact that I can be appealed to a higher court, but to actually try to get it right, to actually put in the work to get in these constitutional considerations and make sure that they're done for every person.
And then General Sessions deals primarily with two levels of proof, probable cause and beyond a reasonable doubt when it comes to misdemeanor trials. How would you describe the standards of proof and the difference between the two?
Yes, sir. Probable cause is a more likely than not standard, but it's amorphous. You know, it can't be simply to the 51-yard line. It's not always just over the 51-yard line. It depends on the circumstances of the case. Beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest burden in our legal system. But it doesn't require a perfect case. It doesn't require any doubt. It requires a reasonable doubt. And so that knowing the distinction is something that I've been working on for the past 3 years because I've had to make those decisions. As a night court magistrate, at 3 a.m., I'm tasked with understanding whether an officer illegally arrested someone and whether they had probable cause. I've been doing that over 3 years, but beyond that, in my practice, I've represented hundreds of indigent clients who have been oftentimes profiled. And I've successfully argued in the General Sessions Court and got a case dismissed for profiling.
And then last question for now, I'm not going to make that promise, but one of the issues that we see persistent throughout the judicial system is recidivism. And so as a judge, are there any steps that you believe that you could take to help reduce our rate of recidivism, and what would those steps be?
Yes, sir. Thank you for this question because it gives me an opportunity to talk about something that's not only important to me, but important to my generation. And that's the scourge that drug addiction has caused on my generation. I'm on the board of the DC-4 Recovery Court, which is the criminal court's recovery court. And what I've learned and seen there is that a life is not lost for an addiction, it's lost for not being included in the circle of compassion. That these people, if we actually try to help them, if we actually use behavioral therapy, if we actually give them access to mental health treatment, if we actually care about their drug abuse instead of just strictly punishing them, then they'll have lower rates of recidivism. It's proven. And that's actually better for the people of Nashville and the individual because it costs less and the individual is actually helped. That's why if I become a General Sessions judge, I want to use that same method that the DC-4 board uses in criminal court in General Sessions Court to help reduce the levels of recidivism.
I rest.
Yes, Councilmember Thames.
Thank you, Chair. Councilman Prepseat asked a lot of really good questions. And I like that you brought up words like compassion and fairness. When I think about the judiciary, I think about how judges are confined to basically the letter of the law. However, when we look at criminal justice statistics, there are certain groups that are disproportionately impacted in a negative way. How do you incorporate fairness and compassion? And if you can give a definition of fairness, but how do you incorporate fairness and compassion when you're confined to what the law says as a judge?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Toombs. This is something that I've worked on over my practice and serving as a night court magistrate is exactly that. How do you just be a judge and just apply the law and yet go beyond that and see that every person is worthy of a second chance? And that can happen through things like an indigency docket. There's absolutely no reason stopping any General Sessions judge from having that docket. It's just a matter of working a little bit more. And that's something that I'm ready and I want to do, is I want more work. Because I've seen that so many times, it genuinely is disheartening. And I've questioned myself whether I want to participate in that system that has so many young and oftentimes young black men, over proportionately young black men that are just in the system for want of having money. But if we want to participate, or if we want to change the system, we have to participate in it. And that's something I want to do if appointed, is to create things like the indigency docket or to use behavioral therapy. There's already a drug court docket, but to facilitate that in my own court and push people in the way of rehabilitation instead of punishment. Those are ways that we can have fairness, which would just be treating every person with the respect that they deserve. That's just the simple definition of fairness. And that's something that I want to do as a General Sessions judge.
All right, any other council members? Haven't asked a question yet? We appreciate your answers, and as I think everybody knows, I'll say this to everybody, that tonight the committee is interviewing and making recommendations about qualifications, and it will be in 2 weeks that the full council will vote, which nominees are absolutely welcome to come to. All right, are we ready to vote on Mr. Robinson? All right, all in favor, or technically we're voting on qualifications, right?
Yeah.
So we're voting on qualifications, and in that regard, those in favor of Michael Robinson?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? It's 7, right? Yep, 7 to 0 to 0. All right, thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Don't forget about the cards.
Thanks. Oh, yeah.
All right, next we have Mark Andrew Cole.
You can just call me Mark Cole. They said the full name, and I didn't realize I was going to be like Charlie Brown or something.
I'm going to read what I got here. I didn't say I left the senior out.
Okay, I appreciate that. Just a little too much
all right.
information, right?
If you would like to tell a little bit about your experience and why you think you'd make a great judge.
I appreciate that. Thank you. My name is Mark Cole, and I am a native Nashvilleian. In fact, we count back 6 generations, so we call ourselves Unicorn Squared. I grew up in the Green Hills area before it became Green Hills. And I went to both public and private schools here in Nashville and the Nashville area. I went to Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, and when I graduated a degree in finance, and I wanted to work for a stockbroker, but the market crashed at that exact time. So I started working for Sovereign Bank, if y'all may remember that. That used to be a bank here a long time ago. And then that bank started getting taken over, and my job kept on getting eliminated. So I went to work for Ford Credit. I'd gotten married, and I decided at that time, what do I really want to do? And I had fought becoming a lawyer because people in my undergraduate would go to law school just to keep going to college and to keep, staying with the parties and all that. And I did not want to do that. I didn't want to be part of that. But I decided to go to law school, and I went to Memphis, which at that time was one of the 4 law schools in the state, because my younger brother had gone to UT and was a golden boy. I couldn't afford Vanderbilt, and Nashville was my next choice, actually, because I have relatives that have gone to Nashville. First, I clerked for the Chancellor of Murfreesboro, Robert Corlew, who's absolutely the nicest man I think I've ever met. I learned from him to be very considerate of other people and to really let them tell me what they need. Then I went to work in a small town called Lafayette, or Lafayette if you want to spell it. Lafayette, Tennessee, and that was a culture shock for me in my life. I did that for about 4 years, went to work in Franklin. Then I was on my own, where I did a lot of criminal work. Did a lot of general sessions appointments, especially in Williamson County. Did a lot of criminal appointments here in Davidson County also. I've had a lot of criminal trials with that because when the public defenders can't take a case, it has to go to a private attorney. And a lot of us would show up and be there just to take cases, and sometimes didn't get a case. I really enjoyed criminal work, but it's hard if you don't have, as I always thought, kind of being flashy. I'm not flashy, if you can tell. I am nondescript. I went to work for the state at the Department of Labor, and there eventually became a hearing officer in the workers' comp. With the new administration, they changed the workers' comp department, And so I was out of the job, and then I went to work for e-discovery firm, and then I went to work for Department of Health, where I met Councilwoman Toombs a long time ago, and did that for about 10 years. Then went to work for TennCare. After TennCare, I essentially retired from the state. With TennCare, I got tired of telling poor people they weren't poor enough. And it's kind of hard when you have somebody who's making like $17,000 a year, a family of 4, and they couldn't get health care. But I went to work for, just to see if I'd like to do it again, an insurance defense firm, and I did not like that. I went to work for a guy who did a lot of car wrecks, and you probably would recognize his name if I told it to you. I didn't really like doing that, but right now I'm at Brighter Day Firm, which is a firm over, it's actually in the Opryland area. And it is right now it's a divorce firm, but we're switching into estate planning and possibly elder planning too.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I went to wait.
You're fine, you're good. Members?
Sure.
Councilmember Prepty?
I'm going to start out with the same question.
Can I first start? I just want to repeat all of Michael's answers.
Fair enough. So, going to start out with the same question. Are you currently compliant with your continuing legal education requirements?
I'm sorry, didn't mean to notice. I believe I am. I try to stay a year ahead, just in case. I actually took 7 hours last week, and I think Thursday I'm getting 4 more hours. There's one on the Metro Council, by the way, which is supposed to be a really good one. It's a free one, too.
Perfect. Okay. I want to dive into your questionnaire a little
Sure.
bit. So on for question 7, you talking about pro bono work. You talked about how you do informal community workshops through your church. Could you talk to me a little bit more about your pro bono work up to this point, and sort of like what form has it taken?
Well, I've never done much formal pro bono work. I have people who ask me all the time, and I'm sure they don't have any money, and they couldn't pay, and besides, also, it's not my expertise, but I help them out with small legal matters. There's a lot of criminal ones, and there's not a lot you can do sometimes, but it's one of those things where if they have somebody to talk to and talk it out and understand what's going on, then sometimes they're at peace with what decision they have to make or need to make or fight it.
Okay, understandable. Thank you. And then for question 14 and 21, as it relates to previous disciplinary action, you stated in your answer to question 14 that you'd never been formally disciplined in your practice of law. But then on question 21, you make reference to some informal complaints that had been filed.
Right.
Could you sort of delve
Tell you
into
that?
without disclosing anything that might be privileged or anything, but yeah.
There won't be anything privileged. This is when I was in Franklin, which was 2006 through 2008. I had 2 cases, and one of them was a gentleman who was trying to sell his mother's property, and he didn't have any money to pay. And I worked on that case for a long time. He wanted to pay me $100 a month. At that time, I was charging $200 an hour. And after a certain point, I told him I really couldn't do his case anymore. And I said, I can try to help find you somebody younger and just starting out, even though I was essentially that too. And he got angry with me, and he filed it. And they called me up, and I was really angry about it. And then the lady who was with the TVPR was like, I don't see this as a violation. Another one, and this one was a lady who had hired the firm I was at to, what happened, her daughter, she had land in Fairview. Her daughter had taken her to a lawyer's office, this is an elderly lady, and had gotten a deed made for a life estate for mom, and then the remainder to go to the daughter. And on the way home, the mother was saying, "Yeah, now we can put you in a nursing home." And so the mother says, "I'm not gonna file that deed." And then a little while later, daughter says, let me come help clean the house, Mama. And she found the deed and filed it. And when they found out about it, she was really angry. And her other daughter came into our office, and the partner said, I don't want to handle this. I'll let you do that. I said, okay. And he goes, she paid like, I forgot how much her retainer was, like $4,000. He had taken for his consultation and all that about a third of it. Then I started working on the case. I filed a complaint, and the reason I remember this is because this is the first time I filed a complaint all by myself, without having anybody just to look it over and say, hey, did I miss anything? What's going on? I filed the complaint. We had discovery. Went before Judge Davies, Lee Davies, in Williamson County, and I won the case. And then I sent her a bill for all the work I'd done. And she told me I cheated her. And I was like, no, ma'am. And I'm a cheap guy myself, if you can't tell by my haircut and all that. I don't overcharge people at all. I think that's one of the worst things a lot of lawyers do. So I mean, I really undercut my bill, and still she did that. And she called them, and they called me up and said, don't worry about this. We're not going to worry about it. So those are the two, and that's not, and they didn't count that as formal discipline. I never had to go before the board, so.
Fair enough, and I appreciate your candor in that answer, so thank you. And I'll state, we haven't previously had the chance to speak, so I'm gonna ask you a pretty broad question. If you were able to take the bench, would there be any particular judicial philosophy or any philosophy that you would use in your practice as a judge when administering law?
Yes, listen, know the law, listen to the facts, listen to the people, show everybody respect, issue a judgment. And I'm not joking around here, like Michael said, I don't mind going back and looking up. I don't mind asking help from clerks, from others, because a lot of times people who've been working in the courthouse for a long time know a lot more than people who are sitting up. I know I'm the final decision maker, but I'm not going to sit there and just, pretend like I know everything and sign and go off, play golf or whatever.
Perfect, thank you. Chairman, those are my questions for now.
Thank you. Any other questions, committee members? Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk about the equity piece. Same question. We know when we look at the statistics from the criminal justice system that there's certain groups that are disproportionately impacted. How do you, as a judge, keep that in mind as you're making decisions, considering that as a judge you are, excuse me, confined to the letter of the law?
Well, it is one of the veins of our society that a lot of young black men, young black women, and poor white people come before the court. And for things that somebody who has money and power and influence wouldn't come before the court. I think there needs to be more study on why it happens like that. I think if somebody came before me, I wouldn't look at them and say, oh, this is a black kid coming before me, he's probably guilty. I would say, okay, this is, Fred coming before me. They said he did this. Did the police do their job? What does he have to say about it? And I love the idea of the industry court that Mr. Robinson said, because I think that a lot of people are poor. And I'll give you an example. My wife is a counselor, and at one time she was the head of the counselors at the behavioral school in Nashville. And a lot of kids in there were black, and a lot of kids in there were poor. And it wasn't because they actually had behavioral problems, it was because that's how the society has treated them. And I think that's a huge shame, because those are kids that are going to go back and get in trouble and go into the system. And that's just going to, that really hurts us as a society, because you never know one of those kids who could, find a cure for cancer. or could help other people, who could become an inspiring teacher to others. So I think it's a problem. I think it once needed to be studied, but I think treat each person as an individual is important to that.
Any other community members have questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, all in
I
favor?
appreciate it, thank you.
Mark Cole. This is, you can take, this is good today to get out of the garage. This is a $10 WeGo pass that you can take and use anytime you want, but promise, if you take one, promise you'll use it.
I would, but I would prefer somebody who really needs it to do that, because I have a car.
Fair enough. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, thank you. Next, we have Jody Bell.
Hello.
Come on down.
Good evening.
Ms. Bell, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd be a great judge.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to just thank you all for your time and attention this evening. I think I would like to start by saying that I don't necessarily want to be a judge. I want to be a general sessions judge. And the reason is, for the last 27 years that I've practiced in Davidson County courts, both in general sessions court, criminal court, federal court, I have come to appreciate that the most important court is the general sessions court. You see the most people. You have the most diverse group of people with a lot of different experiences. It's where cases start, and cases need to start on a solid ground. And I think that my experience representing people, and like I said, a diverse group of people. I've had clients who struggle with mental illness, who suffer from trauma, who have anxiety, who are poor, who are marginalized or from marginalized groups. I would bring to the general sessions bench the experience of understanding that other people don't necessarily think the same as me, don't necessarily feel comfortable in a courtroom. And general sessions is the place where people are. It's the place where cases start, and it's important, a couple of things there, that people know why they're there, that they're heard, and most importantly, that they have a judge that will treat them fairly. And I think I'm in a position to do that.
Thank you. Members?
Thank you, Chair. Starting off strong, like Novocaine, same question. Are you currently compliant with your CLEs?
I love that question. Thank you, Councilmember Presti. I am not only compliant with my CLEs, but as many of you may know, I work with the IDEA Pilot Project, which stands for Indigent Defense and Excellence in Advocacy, where at least every other month I am in charge of putting on a CLE. So sometimes I get credit just for attending and putting the materials together. Sometimes I get double and triple credit for actually teaching the program. And all of these programs are aimed at enhancing the quality of representation provided by criminal defense lawyers who are representing poor people. And in our programs, what I think is particularly unique and important is that we try to bring in people, non-lawyers, who have been affected by the criminal court system in general, to come in and share their experiences and help attorneys understand how they can better connect and represent their clients.
Something that you stated in your opening statement
Yes.
brought this question forth to me, and it's, how do you foresee, or how would you administer your courtroom in a trauma-informed manner? So what exactly does trauma-informed judicial administration look like?
I think it requires some leniency, and I don't mean for the lawyers, I mean for the people who are coming in. I don't hold my clients, when they come to court, to the same standard that I would my co-counsel, opposing counsel, or I don't have the same expectations from the judge, or of my clients that I would have from the court, right? I understand that it can be expensive for people to park. It can be hard for people to arrange for childcare. And I think in a trauma-informed manner, if it was brought to my attention that someone was having difficulty getting in the courtroom or particularly scared, I would try to accommodate that. I mean, I am a person who, my application says, has a visual problem, right? So I know that it can be very difficult for people to sort of embrace their vulnerabilities, right? And I understand that sometimes accommodation may need to be necessary. That may be taking a case first. That may be specially setting a case. That may be, if consistent with the public interest, closing a courtroom where someone's testifying about something that's particularly sensitive. I think that's the way I think about it. Just accommodating the people before it. General Sessions is the people's court. It's not my courtroom, right? It's the public's courtroom.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer. And so going back to a question that was posed previously, we've seen a lot of attacks on our judiciary and on our democratic system. And so what role do you think judges play in protecting that institutional integrity and rebuilding trust in our judicial system?
I think in some ways it's very simple. I mean, in this day and age, we're seeing due process being attacked, right? And so I think the simple thing is kind of where I started, making sure people know why they're there, making sure they know what their rights are, making sure people are given an opportunity to be heard. That's victims, that's witnesses, parties, whomever is there. Treating people with respect and fairly applying the law to the facts as you hear them.
So you mentioned allowing people to know their rights whenever they're appearing before
Yes.
you. So as a General Sessions judge, again, same question, what are some of the most vital constitutional protections that you would seek to uphold in your courtroom?
Well, I think, again, it comes back to due process, right? Making sure everyone is treated fairly and equally and given an opportunity to be heard. Mr. Robinson commented on the Fourth Amendment. I'm very, very familiar with the Fourth Amendment. I have litigated a lot of Fourth Amendment issues, from stop and frisk, search and seizure, legality of arrest. I have challenged and litigated a lot of search warrants. I know what probable cause looks like in a search warrant. I know where there's a problem in a search warrant. But I think that one of the other issues that is really important when you're thinking about equality is thinking about the sort of the long-term ramification for the person or the parties in front of you. And what I mean by that, I think one of the other candidates was talking about programs and various options for people, right? So if you have a young person who comes in your court, and maybe they're in there on a drug charge, right? And they can't make bond, or their bond's too high, maybe you reduce that bond with the condition that the person go to treatment, if that's consistent with public safety, right? If you're sentencing somebody to probation, you align the conditions of the probation to the conduct. If you see a young person who's particularly troubled, you may want to inquire at that sentencing what brought them there, and see if you can, as a condition of that sentence, consistent with their ability to succeed, right? Because that's one thing I really understand, is if you put too many conditions on someone who already has a lot of struggles, they may not be able to fulfill those conditions. And my goal is, particularly with young people who would come in front of a court that I'm presiding over, to make them succeed, to keep them from coming back. And I, in my practice, do that quite a bit, referring people to the 413 Strong program, referring people to Buffalo Valley, trying to, in our trainings, we've introduced people to the Free Hearts program that is here in Nashville. We bring those in through the IDEA trainings too, various programs, so that people can talk about, here are the resources available for your clients. So it's just kind of equality. I think it's really, some people don't have the resources sitting right in front of them, right? So helping them find them. I know in my life, there have been times when people stepped up for me, right? And they directed me or made me believe in myself. So I would hope that I could have that impact on some of the people that come before me in that court.
Thank you. And then last question that I have, last question that I'll have is addressing recidivism in our judicial system. As a judge, what are some of the steps that you think that you can take to help to reduce our rate of recidivism?
I think that comes back to sort of what I was just talking about, is in considering conditions of release or bond, right? Kind of directing those conditions towards the problem. But again, making it so the person can succeed. Sometimes you need to take baby steps, right? You don't want to put too many things on a person who's on pretrial release, bond, or probation so that they don't succeed. I know that there was talk here about indigency court. Well, there already actually is one. Judge Rachel Bell has one. There's a safe surrender that happens twice a year that the public defender's office and the DA's office show up. Judges come and volunteer, where people can come to a safe surrender, which is usually held at a church around town. The service is there. You can come and turn yourself in on a warrant safely, right? You can come in and get matters expunged from your record. You can get court costs waived. Another thing about the indigency docket, as a criminal defense lawyer, is an advocate for my clients, right? When I represent someone who's poor and they are taking a plea and they're about to get assessed court costs, I'm like, Your Honor, can you waive those costs? So I know as a judge, I don't necessarily need that indigency docket, because if someone comes in front of me who's got appointed counsel, I'm gonna waive every court cost I can. I mean, there's some court costs you cannot that are statutorily mandated, but there are others that you can. And so I just think that makes perfect sense. And it, again, helps people succeed. It helps them not lose that driver's license for going into arrears, for not paying something, right? Doing these things on the front end saves the court time, but it also, more importantly, sets that person that's coming before that court up for success.
Those are my questions.
Thanks. Councilmember James.
So I want to ask the same equity question, in the role of equity in your duties as a judge, considering that you're operating within the confines of the law. But I also want to add the role of cultural competence, because you have to be culturally competent in order to identify what equity is.
Yes.
And so can you talk about those two things and how it would play a part in your decision making, even though as a judge you're applying the law and the law is what it is?
Right. One of our trainings has been on cultural competence that we did through the IDEA Pilot Project. Judge Khadija Bab came and gave us a training. That was our very, very first one. When I think of equity as a judge, I kind of want to step back for a second before I get there. I have been an advocate, as everyone knows, but I have also done things in the course of my career that have been non-advocacy, but that have been aimed at equity. And one of them, again, is the IDEA Pilot Project, because I was far too often seeing poor minority groups left in jail with poor lawyers that were not taking, and poor overworked lawyers, right? But the people that were being hurt were the clients. And so I, along with my colleague Don Diener, spent a whole lot of time on my own, about 18 months, writing up a proposal, talking to people in the council, and working through this idea of a program, right? And that program is aimed at equity, making sure that people who are poor, people who are marginalized, people who are stuck in jail, who are really in a very, very vulnerable spot, are treated fairly. And I think that's aimed at equity. I think you have to meet people where they are. You know, culturally, I grew up in a different place than a lot of my clients. And I make that effort as a lawyer to get to know them and their families, to understand where they're coming from. As a judge, I will rely on the people in front of me, the lawyers, to partially do that. But also, if I see a family member there, if the family member wants to be heard, I will ask questions when it is appropriate. I understand, that everybody, again, is not coming from the same place. And so that's how I think, as a judge, as a neutral person, that I could do it. And I feel like my track record has shown an awareness of these issues, and that I have taken efforts on my own to fix them, or try at least. I can't say, the system is what the system is. But I've made my best efforts to take a stand for people who couldn't speak for themselves and try to protect them.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Spain.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. You obviously have a very thorough background in the law. You mentioned in the question about your court experience that the cases you've handled have been 100% criminal. So
Yes.
what prepares you to deal with the civil issues that come
And I
before
should
the
say,
court?
I call these my criminal adjacent cases. So I have handled orders of protection. I have handled forfeiture matters. I often will advise clients if they have a licensure issue in relation to their job. So say I was representing a nurse, right, that had a criminal charge, or a pharmacist or something like that. I've handled matters in front of the Board of Law Examiners where I've represented prospective lawyers who had licensing issues. I often, if I don't know something, I confer with someone else. It probably would not surprise you to know I'm a super preparer. I have been down watching the civil dockets. I would never step on a docket. I take this job very, very seriously, and I take very seriously the fact that if someone's in front of me, even on a driver's license charge, that's their big day, right? That is really important to them. I might think that's not the most serious charge on the docket, but I'm gonna come in there prepared, no matter what docket I'm on. I'm gonna know the law. I'm gonna, if it's a civil docket, and I'm gonna look at that docket days ahead of time. I'm gonna see what's on there. So to that degree, also the rules of professional responsibility, I read them because I instruct on them. They do say lawyers can go and learn new things. So they encourage you to do that. So that's, I call it criminally adjacent civil stuff. Yeah.
We're all very familiar with having to learn new things on the
Yes.
jobs.
Yeah.
So are there other committee members? Councilmember Kopp, I do want to, I'm trying to keep folks in a kind of a similar range of time, and we're kind of about to step out of that. So if you have a quick question.
Yes, I'll be very brief. Ms. Bell has been quite modest about her extensive and sterling qualifications, and a lot of it's in her materials, but there's one I'd like to draw out in particular, which is many courts at many different levels of our system, this is to say the judges of those courts, have
Yes.
asked Ms. Bell for advice and expertise and input on a various range of issues across her career. So I would just ask briefly if you
Sure.
could summarize those.
Yes, so like I said, I practice in state, federal, and general sessions court, and most recently I was appointed by Judge Sutton, who is the presiding judge of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, to preside over a committee. I was the chair of the committee that screened applicants, interviewed applicants, investigated applicants for the position of the federal public defender. I'm currently sitting on the Rules Committee in the Middle District here of Tennessee, where we're rewriting the local rules of court. It's the second time I've sat on that committee. I was asked by the presiding judge, Judge William Campbell, to sit on that committee. I've sat on multiple committees over there where we've appointed magistrates, kind of like this. And I've also been very active in the Criminal Justice Act panel for the Middle District of Tennessee, which screens criminal defense lawyers to handle federal cases for indigent people in federal court. So,
Thank you.
Chair.
thank you.
If it's all right with the committee, because we usually do this, but it's been a little different because we have different nominators. But Councilmember Coopin nominated Ms. Bell. Councilmember Coopin, would you like to?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And we do have
Yeah.
your letter.
I'll keep it to a few words, but you've heard, and I think Councilman Kapp highlighted it, that she is being very modest about her sterling qualifications. I got to know Ms. Bell through the IDEA program that she was working on when she was speaking to council members, but I think it showcases not just the work that she does in her capacity as an attorney, but the fact that she goes above and beyond and teaches and grows other attorneys and wants to make sure that everybody has equal representation and equity and is able to have their day in court. And so I think she's an incredibly qualified individual, and I ask for y'all's support for her. And I think Councilman Kapp has one more.
Yeah, just briefly, Chair, if I may. The clerk this afternoon circulated the results of a survey from the Nashville Bar Association.
Which we have.
So there's an important reason that that's part of the process, and Ms. Bell has universal respect within the legal community of Nashville. As you can see in the statistics, which I will not read out to you, but by far the highest proportion of recommend and highly recommend. And what I think is really important is by far the lowest of do not know the candidate. Ms. Bell is someone who younger and not so young lawyers go to for advice, and she is respected across the entire legal profession in Nashville. And we have many qualified candidates here, but we happen to have one who is superlatively qualified and suited for this role.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, are we ready to vote? All right, all in favor of nominee Jody Bell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any against? Any not voting? All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
And do you need a bus pass?
And real quick,
No, I don't.
Councilmember Evans, were you in here when we voted on Mr. Cole?
No.
Okay, I think I might have said 7-0-0, but it's 6-0-0. All right, thank you. All right, Leroy Ellis. Come on down, sir.
You know, after that sterling endorsement, I'm not sure I want to go next. That's a tough act to follow. Say something nice about me.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you.
I'll take it.
All right, Mr. Ellis, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure,
And,
sure. I mean, like all of us here, I love Nashville. I love everything about it. Been here for a good long time. I love the fact that we've got great parks, we've got great opportunities. I love Lower Broadway on Friday night. My wife hates it. But I think that the vibe in Nashville is that we're welcome to all. And it says something about us. And I think who our judiciary are also says something about us. I think that judiciary should say, welcome to all. My name is Leroy Johnston Ellis IV. People call me Johnny. Call me that a long time. So, but you know, the thing says, what's on your license? It's Leroy. I've been living in Nashville a long time. I'm a fifth generation lawyer. My dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather all practiced law here in Nashville. This is the, I'd like your consideration to fill the position in Division 6 General Sessions.
thank you. Council members?
Yep, I'll jump us off. Same
Mr.
question,
Pepsi?
words every time like Novocaine. Are
Yes.
you currently compliant with your CLEs? Perfect, we love that.
I knew that was coming.
Exactly. Good. So I do want to dive into your questionnaire just a little bit. So on question 7, which talks about pro bono work, you talk about how you don't participate in any formal program, but that you do dedicate some time for pro bono work. Could you sort of flesh that out more about what your pro bono activities
Wow.
generally look like?
Well, I don't have time to keep up with the hours I spend on pro bono. I really don't. Like today, a guy called me from prison. He's been calling me for weeks. His daddy died. He's inherited a house. He's wanting to sell that house and buy a food truck. He's not supposed to get out for 2 more years. He gets out in 2027. And I'm advising him on what to do. How do we sell the house? What do you do with that? So, I mean, that's an example. I have little old ladies whose husbands have died, and they don't have any money, and they're coming in here and asking for, what should I do with his estate? How do we handle this probate? What are we going to do next? There are just a lot of different things. People come in, and I had a girl who is got a problem with her student loan. Right? She's enrolled in TSU, and she can't pay her student loan. They won't enroll her. These are just the kinds of things where you talk to people when they come in. Sometimes they can pay you, sometimes they can't. If they can't pay you, okay, maybe I've earned some goodwill, and they'll come to me when they do have some money to pay me. And that's kind of the way that I approach that. nobody in my family ever made $1 million practicing law, okay? But I sleep well at night, and so that's okay.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you. And so with our court currently, what are some of the most pressing issues that you see within the court, and how have you sought to influence those issues in your practice up to this point?
Well, I try to settle things when I can. You know, I try to convince my client if they've got a bad case, look, you need to settle this. You know, so it's the caseload, it's the workload. I mean, there are people standing in the halls, and you know, getting things to happen more quickly and getting people in and out and get them finished. You know, promote settlement, and those that won't settle try to have a quick, you know, quick hearing.
And then, as a general sessions judge, what do you think are some of the most vital constitutional protections that you would seek to uphold in your courtroom?
Innocent until proven guilty. I think that's a good place to start. A lot of times people come in and, you know, you were charged with this crime, so you must have done it. You know, you know, in high school, I got accused of a lot of things I didn't do, but it sounded like something I would have done. So, you know, so I was on the hook for that. And I think that that's important. And I was on a Facebook thread with some people the other day about illegal immigrants. And why are they in court? They're illegal. And I said, wait a minute, they're not illegal until they're proven illegal. Okay, you can't say somebody's here illegally until they're proven illegal. Okay, so innocent until proven guilty, I think, is a good place to start.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yes, good. And then, for the interest of time, I know we're running a little short, so I'll ask one final question for me. And again, dealing with recidivism, one of the issues that consistently has plagued our judicial system, how would you seek to address our rates of recidivism in attempting to get those down as a judge?
Two things. Certainty of punishment is a better deterrent than severity of punishment. If you come into court and you're proven guilty, okay, then being certain that you're going to go to jail is a lot more of a deterrent than saying, if you do this, you might get 5 years in jail. You know, no, put them in jail for 36, you know, for 30 days or for 10 days or in 24 hours. You know, being in jail for 24 hours will change you. Not speaking from experience necessarily, but yeah, that's one thing. And then number two, don't set people up to fail. You know, that's what, I mean, that's, why don't we do some things that are like, okay, let's put you on probation for a while and see if you can straighten out, and suspend these charges until you have fulfilled some certain set of requirements, okay? Instead of just saying, okay, driving without a license, bam, you know, pay the fine. And people are driving without a license, they don't get a license, and they get pulled over again for what?
No deal.
Driving without a license, exactly. So don't set people up to fail. I think that's an important, and this is just common sense. This is not what I learned in law school. You know, it's just stuff that you should know. You know, I didn't mess with Mr. Estes because he'd give you 3 legs.
Fair enough.
You know, I'm just saying.
Appreciate your answers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sure.
Councilmember Toombs.
Same question. Wanting to know, how do you view the role of equity in your role as a judge, given that, you know, judges are stuck within the confines of the law, but how do you take equity into account?
What I hear you asking is, how can I look at somebody that doesn't look like me and understand what they got to say, right?
That's right.
I don't know, y'all know where Head School is, Head Elementary School? Okay, that's where I went to elementary school, okay, before gentrification. And I rode the bus, and one afternoon, me and some of the fellas are out back playing pick up and smear, waiting for the bus to get there. And some older kids walked past us, and one of them yelled out, "Get that white boy!" And I looked around, I'm that white boy. And that was the first time I had ever been picked out of a crowd because of my race, okay? And that gives you a different perspective on things. When I was in junior high school at Washington, where Pearl Cone is now, I was one of 2 white boys on my track team. So, and, you know, when I was in high school at Hillsborough, I had as many black friends as I had white friends. So, am I gonna be able to look at somebody and judge them independently, even though they don't look exactly like me? I'm just gonna say, you know, you'd have to ask friends that know me to whether or not, to how to answer that question. You just have to take me at face value, and you get what you get. I can say I'm not racist all day, but you know, it doesn't, I can say it, but you need to talk to somebody that knows me.
Thanks. Any other questions from committee members? I got one. Was Thelma Rucker the principal when you were at Head?
She was.
She was my principal.
She
A
was.
couple years after that, I think. She was a great lady.
1972. I'm dating myself a little bit there, I don't know. But, and then Coach Tisdale at Washington. Did you go to Washington?
I did not go to Washington. I went to Head for 5th and 6th, and then junior high. I went to it was called junior high.
Yeah.
West End, and then Hillsborough.
Right, yeah. I went to West End. So anyway.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your coming before us and
Still
sharing
gonna vote before I leave?
experience and thoughts.
I know you're trying to dismiss me, but everybody else waited to stay in the chair until you voted.
Sorry. I wanted to thank you, but all in favor of Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting?
Thank you,
Sir. All right, and last we have David Jones. Come on up, sir. And just as a reminder, I've got parking passes and Rico cards up here for you. If you would, like others, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd be a good, not just judge, but general sessions judge.
Well, I guess you all saved the best for last. So. My name is David Jones. I'm a native Nashvilleian. Been here for most of my life. Only went away to go to school, and then I worked in Iowa in 2012. I have been an attorney since 2012. I practice civil law. I have a lot of experience with landlord-tenant as well as other lawsuits, some collections matters that I know that the General Sessions position judge would have to review. For the last 9 years, I've served Nashville as a prosecutor in the district attorney's office, where I've handled so many cases. I started my career as a prosecutor in General Sessions. Have a lot of experience with those cases. I requested to go back to General Sessions after trying a lot of high-profile cases throughout the state, actually. I requested to go back to General Sessions in the fall of 2023. 2024. My years are, 2024.
Time doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. But just because, and the reason why I requested to go back to General Sessions is because General Sessions, while it might not be the most consequential court that we have, to me it's the most important. And it's the most important because that's where a lot of cases start. That's where the public, they are introduced to court for the first time. I look at General Sessions as a way to filter out a lot of things that a lot of cases that don't need to go upstairs to criminal court. You can resolve a lot of cases there, and you can, again, treat people with dignity and respect as they enter the courtroom. And that's where I was up until recently. Now I prosecute crimes against children. So.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll jump us off. Just wanted to state that David and I have also worked very closely together. Both of us were assigned to Criminal Court Division 4 during my time at the Public Defender's Office. So thank you for being here today. I'm going to start with the same question. You're currently compliant with your CLEs?
I am. I try to knock out my CLEs in advance. So I think I'm close to my CLE requirements for 2026.
There you go. Perfect. And then you talked about your practice both in criminal court and in general sessions. So as it relates to general sessions, what are some of the most persistent and pressing issues facing the court, and how have you sought to address those in your practice up to this point?
There are a lot. And I know I'm going to say these as a prosecutor. That's who I am, but I'm David Jones first. What I see, I do think that the General Sessions Court could be more efficient. I think in a lot of ways, general sessions, not only is it the first step of court for defendants and victims, but a lot of times it's the first experience for attorneys. Sometimes that means that people aren't represented in a way that would benefit them. That's something that I see as a prosecutor. I will tell you all, as a prosecutor, and that's one of the reasons why I want to go back to general sessions. As a prosecutor, the prosecutor has the power to prosecute a case. A prosecutor has the power to dismiss a case or choose not to just go forward on a case altogether. And I think that's very important. I think it takes a lot of discernment to actually know how to handle a case. So there have been times when I'll look at a case, and it's almost training ground where you're trying to help a young criminal defense attorney, or you are trying to just make sure that this criminal defendant, if the facts call for it, if the situation calls for it, this criminal defendant is his or her rights are represented in a way that could resolve the case. So I think training is one. I think another problem that we have, and I'm not talking about violent crimes, but let's say someone has, I know we've talked about drug addiction here. A lot of the other candidates have talked about that. I don't think that someone who is in custody on a drug charge should stay in custody while his or her cases are bound over. So what I would like to see, I would like to see us maybe pre-trial or do something else with a bond to try to, let's see if we can address the problem, but I don't think that it makes sense for us to send someone or let someone sit in jail while a case is going through the grand jury, if we can help it.
And then the judiciary has consistently been under attack. Not only just that institution, but democracy as a whole. What role do you think judges play in protecting our democracy and building trust in our institutions?
I think judges play a huge role in that. Obviously, judges have to follow the law and apply the law, right? But I also think that judges have to take a blind eye to politics. It doesn't matter, so for example, if you all appointed me to serve in this position, and then you all wanted me to do something, right, or to rule a certain way, I can't consider what you all want. I have to consider what the law says, right? And I think that a judge should have the courage to do that. So.
And then I'm going to do one last question, but I'm not going to go by the rules of evidence. I'm going to make it a compound question. As a general sessions judge, what's the most vital constitutional protections that you would seek to uphold in your courtroom? And how would you seek to address recidivism in Davidson County?
It's one compound question. To answer the first one, all of them. I think that all of our rights are important. So I could tell you the Fourth Amendment. I could tell you the 13th Amendment, which I kind of alluded to earlier with people being incarcerated until being proven guilty. But I think that all of our rights are important. So it would be my duty, my job, to make sure that everyone's rights, every constitutional amendment, are honored. So as far as reducing recidivism, that's something personal to me. That's kind of why I became a prosecutor in the first place. One of the reasons. I think that a lot of my colleagues, criminal defense attorneys, can say that I'm a little different when it comes to prosecution. Obviously I have to look at a case, look at facts, and there are going to be times when a defense attorney and I don't agree on how to handle a case. There have also been times when I've been hands-on and I've actually gone into the jail cell and spoken to a criminal defendant to see, okay, what is the actual problem? I think if we get to the root of the problem, like why are you here, then hopefully that can help us to make it to where this defendant is never in the courtroom again. I have a slogan, and a lot of people know my slogan because I talk to criminal defendants, I do. And I always tell them, I never want to see you at my job again. If I see you out throughout Nashville, that's great. And I have seen people out throughout Nashville. I live in our community. I'm from our community. But, you know, what I hate seeing people come back. It's a revolving door. So I try to stop that. Part of that is understanding, okay, and having a conversation with someone who enters, you know, someone who's on my docket. So that conversation might go like, okay, and their defense attorney is present, but that conversation is, okay, what do you think your problem is, or what brought you here? It's a drug addiction. How can we fix this drug addiction? It's poverty. You just need a job. Okay, I know one of the other candidates mentioned 413 Strong. I sat on the board of 413 Strong for a few years. And I still have a very strong relationship with 413 Strong. I'm a speaker there. I speak over there. So if someone tells me I just need a way out, I'm going to look and use I call it a toolbox, but as a prosecutor, I have resources. I can try to set someone up with resources. So whether that's going to 413 Strong so they can, you know, try to find a way to get out of poverty, whether that's, you know, if they have a drug problem, let's see if we can find a program so that we can tackle the drug problem. That's what I've built my whole career on. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Toombs, and Councilmember Toombs, you are the nominator, Mr. Jones.
I am the
If you
nominator,
wanna
Mr. Jones.
give a little extra speech to that, then.
I have known David for a long time. I think since he first became an attorney. I think that's how far back we go with Napier Loopy Bar Association. I've never heard a negative thing about David. I know that he works hard, that he cares about community, and that he would put doing the right thing and justice and community first if he were to sit on the bench as a general sessions judge. I do have the same question I've had for everybody, because equity and cultural competence are important no matter who's sitting on the bench. Because race isn't the only bias in the judicial system. So how would you incorporate equity and cultural competence in your role as a general session judge, knowing that you're confined to the letter of the law?
Thank you for that question. And you're right, race isn't the only component here. I think that we need to treat people with humanity. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like. I need to treat you with dignity and respect, right? Are there going to be differences? Absolutely. But if you were to come to my courtroom, I'm going to look at the facts of the case first. And, you know, whatever evidence is presented. And I want to make sure that whoever you are, you have your day in court, because, you know, whether it's a driver's license case, whether it's a preliminary hearing for a homicide, this could be the most important day of your life. You paid for parking to come here, or maybe you're in an orange jumpsuit. Maybe you're a victim of a case, all right? No matter what brought you into the courtroom, as long as you know that you're treated with dignity and respect, and that's something that I demand for myself, so I'm going to give it to you. That's how I would address that.
Thank you. Any other members, committee members, have questions? Thank you, sir. Let's take a vote. All in favor of David Jones?
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? That's 7-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, now we're moving to our regularly scheduled or typical nominations for boards and commissions. But that was I think very interesting. Councilmember Prepti, I appreciate your experience and wisdom and asking great questions and Councilmember Teets.
I can't promise.
Good to have
If I had my little roller.
attorneys who know what needs to be asked.
I'd just like to know, Councilmember Prep T, is up to date on his CLEs?
Yeah, right.
I am current on my CLEs. I still have some to make up before the end of the year, but I am compliant. So. It's a good starting point. So yeah.
All right, moving on. All right, to the, I'm in the right section, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To the Metropolitan Board of Health, the appointment of Jeffrey Stovall for a term expiring July 9th, 2026. Come on down, Mr. Stovall. And just to repeat, I've got parking passes and WeGo cards up here. Mr. Stovall, this is an appointment, so you're not currently on the Board of Health, but you'd like to be. Tell us a little bit about why you'd like to serve Metro government and why specifically on the Metro Board of Health.
I spent the last 5 years on the Mayor's Behavioral Health and Wellness Advisory Council, and part of that was as chair, and really got to see one, the importance of public health in Nashville, but also kind of the workings and not workings of the health system that we have, and thought that this would be a logical next step in terms of role I could play in a position for over 35 years. I'm a psychiatrist, primarily work in the communities and with individuals with schizophrenia, substance abuse, and so have both worked with individuals, but also kind of worked in community settings to see how really many health issues are community issues, not solely individual issues.
Thank you. Committee members? Questions for Mr. Stovall?
Yes, well, thank you. So I met you, went back and when you were on BWAC
Sure.
last term, when I was
Right.
chair of public health and safety, and you were really involved in the opioid settlement pilot program, and so anyway, I'm really glad that you want to serve at the Board of Health level to because I think you'll have a lot of great experience to be able to bridge the gap, I think, in the opioid settlement money in BWAC and kind of what's currently happening, with the board, and also influence around like Partners in Care and like the REACH program and those kinds of things, since those topics are so critical in our county. So I don't really have a question as much as I greatly appreciate your wealth of knowledge and looking forward to like your influence kind of in that conversation on the board level.
I don't think you have enough experience.
I'll put together a few more years.
Experience reads like a book. Congratulations, thanks for.
My
CMEs are up to date.
maybe a little different, but
Or you can light on your CLEs.
my father was a psychologist and grew up in Nashville, but he had an interaction with somebody in a small apartment complex that he lived in while he was in college, and the neighbor was schizophrenic, and he because of that interest, because he kind of grew an interest in what was going on with her, he majored in psychology and spent a career where one of the main classes he taught was abnormal psychology, and actually kind of ran into that woman years later at Central State, and she was in better shape, and they had this great interaction. So I appreciate that work, and that's it. I've known people that struggle with it, and I appreciate your work on that. And how do you think mental health would inform your service on the Board of Health?
Well, it's an important part of what happens in public health and community health. A lot of the issues, whether they're addictions or the effects of violence, the effects of even what we've seen in terms of accepting vaccination rates and other public health issues, really come back to mental health issues, either because of an impact they have or an ability to engage in some of those other issues that may be impacted by psychiatric illnesses or addictions. So I think it's an important voice to have in many settings, but certainly in that setting.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, all in favor of Mr. Stovall?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any not voting? 7 to 0 to 0. Thank you, sir. All right, next, the appointment to the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency of David Lawrence for a term expiring November 5th, 2030. That's a long stretch.
Thanks for reminding me.
And this is an appointment, so you are not currently on MDHA. Why the interest in MDHA, and what do you think you could bring to the housing discussion?
My day job is in real estate. I work for a company called Hines. My job is to oversee all of our real estate development, acquisitions, and financings in Nashville. Since I've moved to Nashville in 2016, been involved with just under 1 million square feet of projects in Davidson County and greater Nashville, and work and planning on others. MDHA's mission is to create affordable housing. That's not what I do in my day job, but I think there's a lot of parallels to what they do. And I'm excited about the opportunity to bring professional experience to supporting the organization as a board member.
Have you followed like MDHA's activities or watched any of the meetings or?
From a distance, I've seen them go through the planning processes for Casey's and Masuka and Napier and things like that. I have not had direct interaction with the organization professionals.
Because I was going to ask you like what you felt their main mission was. You kind of answered that before I asked, and so I kind of want to ask like how do you see any areas where MDHA could be better in fulfilling that mission?
So I do not feel like I have a position on what the organization should do differently right now. In talking to some people working with it, they have a broad. They also manage projects like they're managing the Christmas Day bombing renovation for Secretary. Like, that is very unique, and I think affordable housing is an incredibly hard thing to do, and so what I'm looking forward to is getting in there and understanding what are the obstacles and if there are solutions, but I don't have any criticisms for the organization.
Other committee members?
Is there anything in particular that you would want to accomplish during your time on the board?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of an opportunity for MDHA to have a little bit more of a presence. I think they're a little under the radar for how impactful they are. If you think about having 30,000 people in their communities, if you think about the types of land that they control and influence and how big of those chunks are in greater Nashville. So I think awareness of what they do is important because awareness can unlock funding, and funding can feed the flywheel of creating more housing. So, that's a more aspirational goal, but I would like to see a little bit working towards getting their name out there in a way that's positive and brings attention to their mission.
Thank you.
Thanks. Other committee members? Any questions? All right, all in favor of David Lawrence for the MDHA for a term expiring November 5th, 2030, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any not voting? 7 to 0 to 0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And don't forget the cards here if you want one. All right, the Metropolitan Planning Commission appointment of Aria, did I get that right? Aria Dang.
Yes.
For a term expiring March 31st, 2026, which is not that far away. It's a term. It's a short term. I think you're filling in for a vacancy, and so it is what 5 months at this point, and then hopefully you'll if approved, you will want to continue to serve. So why do you want to serve on the Metropolitan Planning Commission? What's your background in city planning and?
Sure. So a little bit of background about myself. After attending the Naval Academy, I served 6 years in the Marine Corps as an artillery officer. Yes, that is an unusual background, and I'm just putting it all out there. And when I left the Marine Corps, I went to get my MBA, but I also found my husband, who's from just north of here. We decided to settle down in Nashville to start a family, to build a community in a way that we didn't get to, frankly. We're both veterans at this point. But a life of service was something I always held true to myself and wanted to continue to find, though I was going to go start my career in the business world, at least for some time. So I offered to, well, through the mayor's office, but ending up working with Jamari to get involved in the city and help some of the problems that plague it, whether that's in housing or in food deserts or transportation. And specifically, I worked on the food desert crisis that's in Nashville, writing the RFI and working with other stakeholders to help solve that issue. That was going to be temporary, but I wanted to continue to serve and find a different way. And that's how I found myself into boards, commissions, but specifically with planning. I understand, as in many different ways, when a city grows so rapidly, there are great opportunities for it and also some hardships and struggles. I'm not gonna hide the fact, I understand I'm young. I do not a fifth generation Nashvilleian, but I do care deeply about this community, about planting roots here, and about helping it to grow. In that way, especially as, let's say, about 30% of the population falls between 25 and 35. About 10% of the total population have only lived here for about 5 years and are not currently represented in planning on the board. What I would find important in a board is its diversity in perspective, place, background, and I think I would be able to bring that to planning.
How on the, the planning commission's a public body, and for many items, at least especially if there's some dissent on an item, there's public comment or a public hearing. Like, how do you think you would weigh a public hearing in the pool of, like, the community good, and I guess what kind of weight, or how would you, I don't know, I'm not asking you very well, but
Sure.
What kind of weight would you give to public hearings and community feedback?
My initial thought would be most of the weight. If the point of these boards is to serve the community and to hear from them, to gain multiple different perspectives and make a judgment from that, included with other not just points of view, but the facts that you have, right? Like you have to understand zoning. You need to understand how planning fits in with transportation, fits in with stormwater, fits in with business growth, and along with affordable housing, and food deserts and affordable housing. So I don't know if I could assign a percentage to that question, but it would be primary. And as we all know in Nashville, it's one very welcoming city, but also made up of different neighborhoods with their different perspectives, different, I don't want to say architectures and history, what is a Germantown tall and skinny versus a Sylvan Park, long light. And it all needs to fit together in some way. I'm not sure if that specifically answered your question. That's where my mind went.
That's a good answer. We're have been getting a lot of public feedback on.
Oh, I know. I attended the last couple of planning commission meetings, and it's contentious. I understand. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other council members?
Just very quickly, on your questionnaire, you note that you travel pretty often for your job, which a lot of us have to do.
Yes.
And that being able to meet virtually would be of a benefit. Just understanding that with the way that state law operates, not necessarily an option, that's really available. Given the demands of your job, do you think that you would still be able to meet and make quorum and be as present as possible?
Yes. Before coming in here today or essentially putting my name out there for a position as such, I did speak to the heads of my office and have their support to make sure that I am back for these meetings.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other council members?
I have
Yes,
one.
sir.
Not specifically related to the position that you're seeking, but something that just jumps off the page at me on your resume. I noticed that you served as the first female artillery instructor in Marine Corps history, and I think that's just worth calling out. And as a veteran myself, I just want to say I greatly appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Any others?
if anybody wants to deal with controversy, I've 100% felt it.
All right, are we ready to vote? The appointment of Aria Dang for a term expiring March 31st, 2026 to the Metro Planning Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 7 to 0 to 0.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Get the cards here.
All right.
All right, and last on these interviews, the reappointment of Jay Fulmer for a term expiring October 31st, 2029 to the Stormwater Management Commission. Starting off, if you want to tell us a little about yourself and since this is a reappointment, kind of your experience on the Stormwater Management Commission and maybe what you'd like to, if you have a goal or a vision to continue on the commission as you continue to serve.
It's been a fun tenure so far. I'm Jay Fulmer. I've got a civil engineering practice in Nashville. Started in 2014. We are approaching about 20 engineers, so we're about, small but not small, but do a lot of private development and heavily involved in stormwater design across many municipalities. And so over the last, I think it's been 4 years, it has been great serving on the board. I'm now the vice chairman. The chairman of about 15 years rolled off, and vice chair stepped up, and I got nominated by the rest of the board to serve as vice chair. So that was an honor, and would like to continue serving. I think I was out of the country for one meeting, but otherwise have been able to be present at all the meetings over the last 4 years. So luckily it's a once a month, not every other week board, so it makes it a little bit easier.
So what kind of, stormwater has been an issue, and it's something that folks bring up as, to some degree in planning, to some degree in infrastructure, and sometimes as we're not keeping up. Do you think we're doing better with stormwater management as the city grows?
Yes and no. Commercial regulations do a really good job on commercial projects. The biggest battle, I think, that's increasing the demand on the stormwater system is single-family houses. We just have a Band-Aid approach because the city got approved what they could, about 10 years ago or so with a little bit of measures. But you look at aerials, you've got large commercial projects that have huge stormwater management systems, and then you look at a neighborhood, it went from ranch duplexes to a bunch of roofs and driveways. I mean, that's the problem. That coupled with maintenance. We built a house 10 years ago, and it took about 4 years for the roadside ditch to completely fill in. I mean, they have to be redug all the time. So there's a lot of capacity concerns. There's just more and more contributing factors. We review variances from those applications, and so it's kind of hard for us to have a change in current policies on the single-family houses, but I might get attacked on the way to my car from all the home builders, but that's true.
We sympathize.
Yeah.
But no, it is good to have this perspective, because I understand a lot of what the applicants are saying or what they maybe haven't included in their presentation, because we've got a wide array of people on the board.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I was just gonna make a comment. So I worked with Mr. Fulmer on a project in my district last term, and he's really good at, I'll call it dumbing it down from myself, because that is not my background, but explaining things. And I think that is helpful, because as resident concerns, especially when, development's happening, sometimes I've had people show up at the commission and not understanding things, and so I think that lens is helpful to have worked on projects with council, understand what residents say, the inner workings of Metro Stormwater and all those things, so my experience has been very good. we never talk anymore since you aren't doing any projects, but it's good to see you in person, and
You
I'm
still have
glad
my number.
I know, I'm glad to see you, and thanks for being willing to serve again.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor of the reappointment of Jay Fulmer to the Stormwater Management Commission for a term expiring October 31st, 2029, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we have the, like the ones that we interviewed last meeting, and there's a rule change. However, right now, they're taking a picture, correct, like the bodies,
In 10 minutes?
pictures being taken, I was told at 6:15 and they were 6:16. That was what,
Can they just wait on
I'm
us?
betting they wait for us.
huh?
I'm betting they wait for us.
I hope so.
I'm betting
All right, I
they
can
do,
do-
yeah.
I can do this next part pretty quickly. So, as a, I'll just, as a consent review, board and commission confirmations for the Charter Revision Commission, the reappointment of Hal Harden for a term expiring September 4th, 2029. The Charter Revision Commission reappointment of Susan Short Jones for a term expiring September 4th, 2029. For the Charter Revision Commission, the appointment of Tom Lee for a term expiring September 4th, 2029. Same commission, the reappointment of Jim Murphy for a term expiring September 4th, 2029. And the Charter Revision Commission reappointment of Joy M. Sims for a term expiring September 4th, 2029.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right, 7-0-0. All right, the last item on our agenda is the a change to Rule 12 in the Rules of Procedure.
So
And
early Christmas present, I'm just in an effort to move things on because tonight's gonna be nuts. I'm just gonna defer, I think, till the meeting in January.
okay.
So moved.
So the,
You're welcome.
all right, and just to note, there is also an amendment by Councilmember Stiles. Are we? Let's. I think there's an amendment on the. I think there's a deferral till January on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.